I think I'll read back a little bit. This story is called in this novel I'm writing, but this story is called Under the Well Guarding Stars. Under the Well Guarding Stars. The massive truck looked a bit small to Daniel and Sally. As they stood together under a bright starry sky. The crescent moon had gone down some hours ago, and due to the freshly fallen snow, it seemed a bit like day due to the reflection of the starlight off the glistening white snow. Their eyes had adjusted to the dark, and even though it was cold, they seemed to enjoy seeing stars without the interference of city light. Daniel had his .357 Magnum, and Sally had hers, as well as Daniel recited a poem saying, "When I behold the charm of evening skies, lulling endurance, the pattern of stars, the names of bears and dogs, a swan, a virgin, other planets that the Voyager showed were like, and so unlike our own, with all their diverse moons, bright disks, weird rings, and cratered faces, comets with their streaming tails bent by pressure from our sun, the skyscape of our Milky Way holding in its shimmering disk an infinity of suns, or say 1,000 billion, knowing there are holes of darkness gulping mass and even light, knowing that the galaxy of ours is one of multitudes in what we call the heavens. Well, it enlivens me. It enlivens me." Sally smiled and said, "That was a pretty good poem. Did you come up with that?" "I sure did," smiled Daniel, looking to the side. "Well, actually, only the last part." "The last part?" "The part about it enlivening me. Only that part. For it does enliven me. The rest was written by our second to worst president ever. Worst president we ever had. Yeah. A guy who probably should have stuck to poetry. But again, all that up there and here, again, does truly enliven me. It doesn't trouble me in the least, like it troubled our poet president. I mean, if there's a God, and I believe there is, and God is how the Bible has him, creating all things, creating all of this, how can you be troubled? Would a being that is setting something up for, would a being like that be setting something up for eternal damnation? Of course, an atheist would ask, would a being like that care to bother setting up something for our eternal heavenly home? I'm going to say yes on the latter, because even though I was an atheist, it totally struck me. It finally struck me after seeing Neville's videos on abiogenesis that if there is no God, then all of this had to exist forever because something can't come from nothing. It always had to be here. The universe and time and all the God of the universe and time is all the God of atheists. And since none of us were around to see its creation, to see that it's forever and always has been, it takes a God-given faith to believe that it has always been here in some form. But it all seems so dark and cold if that was the case. And if I say, if God didn't create all this, didn't create all that, and create you, if all came from accident, then really, who cares if Islam takes over? I mean, our descendants will greatly envy us that we didn't have to pull out prayer rugs and stick our patooties up in the air 5 times a day, every day, for the rest of our lives. Um, they'll be forced to do. That's all. I mean, if there is no heavenly afterlife, no God who cares or loves us, that's all accident as to why we're here. Then it's all a cosmic joke on us anyway, if you ask me. Again, at least we had the free will. Oh, excuse me, at least we had the freedom for a while to not be bound to the ideas of a dead desert Charlie Manson on steroids. You know what I mean? I think I know where you're coming from, said Sally softly. She then asked, so you were an atheist. You wouldn't try to... So if you were an atheist, you wouldn't try to expose Islam? Daniel thought, then said, it's hard to tell. One of the reasons why I'm trying to expose Islam is because, well, I really love my fellow human beings, as imperfect as they may appear to me at times. And I want to see my fellow life travelers, as they are called a lot now, progressing and getting better with time, which to me seems absolutely impossible if Islam takes over. But is this desire to see such evolution in the world because I'm a Christian or because of something in my DNA? Since I'm no longer an atheist, I'll say it's the former reason and give God the credit for the way I feel this way toward things. What was your attitude toward Islam when you were an atheist? Asked Sally. I thought it was like any other religion, a stupid waste of one's precious time when they could be doing something far more productive. I saw it as the worship of a man who had a vivid imagination, like traveling to Jerusalem on a flying horse, that sort of thing. Had I known Islam was the threat it truly is, as an atheist, and I didn't come upon the anti-atheist writings and videos of Neville when he was Christian Prince 3, I'd have... Yeah, I guess I would have done what I'm doing now. God or no God, I didn't want to see my daughters and wife burdened with having to hide their pretty faces all the time. I guess I'd have done what the same that I'm doing now, after all. Yeah, what I'm doing after all. You don't worry about them being raped for not being covered up? Asked Sally. Oh, it could certainly happen. Still, I'd rather them have the option of being free than cowering under a sheet, fearful they'll be raped for not cowering. Yeah. Okay. It could certainly happen. Still, I'd rather have them have the option of being free than cowering under a sheet, fearful they'll be raped for not cowering under a sheet. I mean, look at how much one would miss out on in trying to keep some bastard from raping them. If they hide under a beekeeper outfit. And do you think hiding under a sheet will keep a rapist from raping you if he wants to? If you dress seductively, aren't you bringing it on? Asked Sally. You mean like you? Have I raped you for the sexy way you are dressed? Responded Daniel. I've got my gun, said Sally. Has anyone raped you for not wearing a beekeeper outfit, but for the way you're dressed now? Smiled Daniel. Sally didn't say anything. I rest my case, said Daniel. Daniel then pointed at something and said, anyway, see that rock? See the rock? It's small, but I bet I can hit it from here. I'm a pretty good aim with this thing now. It should spark in the dark, letting us know I hit it. Normally I wouldn't be shooting at anything, being that bullets are now as valuable as pieces of gold, but I now secretly make my own bullets. Pretty soon, the way things are going, bullets will be our currency. Horrible thought, but that's the way things are headed now. Sally asked, "Where do you make bullets?" "Believe it or not," said Daniel, "I have a bullet maker with gunpowder right in my truck. I make them for my Magnum, and only for my Magnum." I've only made the bullet maker. Excuse me, I've only had the bullet maker and powder in my truck for a week, though. Since I noticed Muslims are turning up the heat on me, it's not the complete gun maker. I have to get my charges from someone else who will remain unknown no matter how much torture the government puts me through. "But," said Sally, "aren't you worried that you'll be arrested for having guns in your truck and a bullet maker?" Daniel thought and said, "I'd rather be arrested than dead. Of course, to die is gain, according to my belief. I mean, like a Muslim, I too believe in martyrdom, but only at a last resort. If you can stay alive, to fight again another day, you fight to stay alive. But there is a reason why I'm armed and have gunpowder in my truck." I think of it this way. If you're going to be arrested for having a gun, now that it's illegal to have any handgun, you might as well be arrested big time, so that you have the chance of making news. God willing, a lot of news, especially when you have something you feel worth exposing to the world. "Why in the world would you want to do that? Are you some kind of outlaw?" asked Sally, feeling as though she might have to point her gun at Daniel again. Daniel thought then said, "Well, yeah. You bet I'm an outlaw. Anyone who questions or tries to expose Islam is an outlaw now, and soon anyone who doesn't submit fully to Islam will be an outlaw as well. But no, if the world was the way it was just 5 years ago, I wouldn't even have a gun now. I wouldn't have a gun at all. Personally, I don't like the things. I'm not a violent man, and I'm usually very law-abiding. Quite boring, actually." Oops. I think I'll read on just one more minute here, maybe a minute here. Okay. Quite boring, actually. "I thought you said you wouldn't kill Muslims," said Sally, looking down. "Where did I say that I would? Just because you have a gun doesn't mean you have to kill those who are trying to kill you. Does a scorpion or a rattler deliberately crawl into your bed to bite or sting you? Does a porcupine set out to fill a dog's mouth with vicious quills? Look, if they think you are evil, which all Muslims view me as, for my daring to question and expose Islam, they will think I'll use this gun to kill them. And if they do, it might make them hesitant in trying to hunt me down, knowing that I'm armed. Luckily, in the human brain, the jihadi Muslims are human. There is usually a strong thread of doubt in whatever belief, no matter how hypnotized and brainwashed. Yeah, and brainwashed. I better stop it here. Yeah, I better stop it here.